the next thing is actually buying on Discogs, which we're talking about right here. So the Discogs marketplace, again, just like all the information being crowdsourced, all of the albums for sale are from people all over the world. Some of them are very experienced. Some of them own record stores, and some of them aren't experienced and don't own record stores. So you've got to be careful. You got to know who you're buying from, and I think that's probably the biggest deterrent from buying on Discogs is people just don't know where this stuff's coming from, because anybody can own a record and create an account and put it up for sale. And how do you trust them, right? It's a great app. They've got some things in place, just like any other online buying resources, that will enable you to do a little research, to make some educated guesses on who you want to buy from, where they are. I talked about, buying, within the United States versus internationally if you're in the United States. The other things you can do is there's actually reviews and ratings on the buyer. So there's reviews on the albums and ratings on the buyer. So if I click into that, let's see. All right, so if I go, there's only one note on this. So if I go into this live facelift album and I click on the little icon, there you go. There's a couple of reviews, or at least one, and a couple replies. Let's see if I can go to one more. So here's MTV Unplugged. All right, so you got 3 reviews on this one, the little blue icon in the middle. So this is what gives you an idea, especially when you get into certain pressings, if you want to check out how that album sounds. So you see this one, there's no reviews at all. Let me go through, see a larger one, no reviews on that one. So it's just hit or miss if there's reviews. But that's something that I always try and look at, especially as you get into, again, different variants or older pressings. So that's really resourceful. And then the other thing, which we'll get into, is the ratings on an actual buyer. So if I want to come in here and buy this album, so I'm going to buy, this is a 2006 version of Pet Sounds. The first thing I'm going to do, again, is I'm going to sort this or filter this by ships from United States, because that's important. And here we go. So now I've got copies available in the United States. The cheapest copy down here is $70. It's a near mint copy on the media, which is the vinyl, and a VG Plus on the jacket and or sleeve. So now I can click here and go, all right, do they have any notes on this? All right, so they've got comments. The jacket is VG Plus with small corner creases, and they've got the actual number because it's a numbered edition. So that's great. They've got this in hand. The other thing is, look at the seller's ratings in their other inventory. So they've got over 1,000 ratings, meaning that 1,000 people have rated them, 1,000 buyers have rated them as a seller, and 99.9% of them are giving them, 4.5 stars. So that's you've got to think that this seller's doing something right. You've got to go with the majority. So that's going to give me confidence to purchase this record from this specific buyer. The other thing I do, which is a good tip, is always look at their other inventory. So you can view seller's inventory and see if there's anything else that they have that you may want, especially since you're going to have this shipped to you. They can combine shipping. So if you're going to pay, $5-7 to have an album shipped, you might look and see if they have anything else. So it's going to be automatically sorted by the stuff that they've listed, the newly listed albums. I could also sort that by, let's say, highest price, and let's see what collectibles they have. So they've got stuff that I can scan. Most useful, I think, is filter by this on the left hand. Filter by all versus filter by in my want list. So again, if you keep your want list updated and current, it's very easy to come in here and go, okay, they didn't have anything else. All they have, the only thing that aligns in their inventory with my want list is this single copy of Pet Sounds. That just happens to be the case. But that's going to give you, the advantage and save a little money if you're looking to, buy a couple items at a time. You can find a seller that has more than one thing that's on your want list, right? So that's very key. The other thing you can do, aside from just purchasing an album, so again, let's go in, here's a Revolver limited edition mobile fidelity copy. If I go in here for sale, again, I'm going to filter by ships from United States. There's only one copy that's available. It's $220. So let's say, I don't want to pay $220. Well, if you notice, I think it was on that copy of Pet Sounds, there was a make an offer button. So similar to eBay, where there's a buy it now and there's an offer, and there's no auction, but there maybe is an offer. Discogs has the same functionality. Now, on this particular record, this seller doesn't have the option to make an offer, but you can always message them and see if they'll take less. That's a real thing. You can hit contact seller down here and it'll actually pop up, and this will send, and it'll reply and notify you via email, and it'll be in your Discogs inbox, your messaging. So if you like to haggle, you can certainly do that on Discogs. The other thing that's very important is to ask the sellers for photos. So if I'm going to pay $220 for this album and they don't have any comments, they don't have any mention of what the condition is, well, I want to actually see some photos of this. And so it's very common, especially on higher dollar albums, for buyers to contact the sellers and say, hey, send me some photos. In fact, whenever I sell anything on Discogs, I actually put in the comments, feel free to message for photos. If it's a new album and sealed, not necessarily, because that's a little overkill. But anything that's a vintage used album where condition is very important, that's something that I'm always open to, especially if it's an album that's over, $50 in value, where people, are concerned about spending that much and having something shipped and all that type of thing. So that's very important. Reviewing the seller is great too. So obviously if you get something, it's packaged well, the item is as described, you're very happy, you can go back and leave a review, because that's how those ratings work. So that's very important. So